It's Sunday, 26th of October 25, and yesterday UKIP planned to walk through Tower Hamlets in a sort of protest, and but they couldn't. The police told them they couldn't do it, even though they'd been liaising with them for 2 or 3 months or something on it. It was meant to go ahead, but it was police stopped it because they thought it was going to be serious disorder. And this is a sort of crowd that came out, which looked to be, I'm guessing, they're local men from Tower Hamlets, maybe all of the same heritage. And yeah, it looked pretty ominous, really. To me, it didn't look like we're heading for multi-utopia. Nothing actually happened though. So, and UKIP didn't go there. They went along to Speaker's Corner or something, which is quite near there because it's in central London. And I think some people are saying this is like a bit like the Battle of Cable Street, but I think we hear Labour MPs in Question Time often say the Battle of Cable Street as if it's something to be proud of, But I think what happened there as well was Mosley and his crew were going to walk through the same area, I think, Tower Hamlets, but the people who had moved into that area built up big barricades and stuff, and they ended up fighting the police. So I think it was actually a fight between the police and the left, if you want to call it that, or their local residents who had moved in there to the area. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something to be proud of or whatever, but I think Labour seemed to feel. But there was no trouble yesterday. But it does look a bit ominous, They were letting off flares as well, handheld flares. And you can see that stand up to racism placards are there. That's some sort of thing. I don't know who funds their banners. They get their banners made in, bulk. Those yellow and magenta. Is that what colour is that? But yeah, they were there as well. I don't know if these gentlemen were part of that though, because this area is run by the Aspire Party, which seems to be mostly, or you could say all Bangladeshi heritage local people. And the Bangladeshi flag was out on display yesterday as well, and the Palestine flag, which I see as a sort of proxy. I'm not sure. Well, they would say they care about Palestinians. I don't know about it. I think it's more a sort of ego thing. I don't know. But the Bangladesh flag, and it's tragic because the UKIP had the British flags out. These people could have had the British flags out as well. We're all British. That seems to be. I mean, none of us are Bangladesh. None of us want to live in Bangladesh, it seems, But yeah, and the other thing, I think Nick Tinconi of the UKIP said that he'd already said weeks before that local Muslims could come and protest with him, waving Union Jacks and stuff. I can't remember what in favour of, because I think he's in favour of Christianity, but maybe just a United Kingdom or something. I don't know. But I don't think they took him up on that. But I'm wondering how this group of men came to be so organised on the day, and I'm wondering if it was maybe the local Aspire Party, because that was sort of founded in 2021 or something. They've got the local mayor. I can't remember his name. I can't pronounce any other names. Well, I probably could, but they're not really recognisable names to me. Traditional British names, and I think they get 24 councillors. It was always a Labour area. I think it was like 48 Labour councillors, but then, or 46 Labour councillors, but then they get 24 Aspire councillors. I don't know if you're on the left since then. A few have came, but I think it's still the Aspire Party that sort of control the area. But I think maybe they had a role in this group of men coming, and they were praying in the streets, and I don't know what percent of them they made up of the counter protest, including stand up to racism, etc. I'll just take a look at a bit of background. I'm looking at Grok because I thought Gemini was a bit soft on it, Yeah, so it's just saying. They made a police decision to ban a planned demo by the UKIP, Nick Coney's party. I don't know when they told them it was banned. I think it was possibly on the day. UKIP have been doing events all over, protests, marches all over Britain, including Glasgow, Newcastle. Let's see. So here they were doing Tower Hamlets, and maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, was it the Pink Ladies that had a protest there? But that was a lot smaller. And there was a stand-up to our counter-protest group there. Yeah, but this one is, I think, seen as a big one, really. And it was part of a mass tour on that issue. And it was intended to reclaim Whitechapel from these people and was restricted due to fears of serious public disorder. Yeah, but on the day, I think he'd been liaising with them and it was meant to go ahead, but on the day there was a change of plan. That happened in Glasgow as well, I think. Due to fears of serious public disorder, because the area has the UK's highest proportion of Muslim residents, and I think most of them are of Bangladeshi origin, and there were Bangladesh flags flying there. So they redirected the UKIP assembly to Marble Arch in central London. There was only about 100 of the UKIP, I think, so they're saying anyway. There might have been more than that, I don't know. In response, thousands of local residents, including many men, gathered for a counter-demonstration organised by groups like Stand Up to R and community networks. The event was framed as a show of unity, etc., etc. Echoing historical anti-fascist actions like the 1936 Battle of Cable Street in the same area. Tower Hamlets Council, led by Mayor Lutfur Rahman, who was kicked out of the Labour Party, had earlier passed a motion pledging to stand up to the far and reject external agitators targeting local communities. I mean, you could say it's a provocation, but you could also say it's a stress test, for the country. We've just had a stress test with the Union Jack. I mean, all Brits should feel affiliated to the Union Jack, If you don't, the question is why not? I mean, for the TikTok videos that are made for the dinghies, both those who are arranging the dinghies and also those who are boarding the dinghies, they always in the TikTok videos have the British flag, and some other flag that they originate from, I would say. Yeah, that's what you usually see, but I guess once they're here, I think about 96% of them become British citizens, or that has been the way in the past. So maybe the British flag gets dropped then, they don't identify with that anymore, I don't know. But we don't really see these communities really liking the flag much. Neither did Labour and Lib Dems, but they both had them at their conferences this year. Yeah, so estimates suggest thousands participated in the counter-protest. Well, I mean, if the Aspire parties told the men to come out, I think, and it's 40% of the local population, I think there's a good chance that's going to happen. It included marches, prayers in the street and chants emphasising community protection. Videos show crowds waving Bangladeshi flags and vocalising slogans like "Stand firm" and "Defend our community." Masked participants, yeah, a lot of them were masked. A prominent feature was groups of young Muslim men dressed in black clothing and wearing balaclavas or masks, described in media as masked Muslim youths or Muslim brothers. Footage captures them marching in formation, blocking roads for prayers and chanting phrases such as Allah Akbar and anti-fascist slogans like "Nazis come off our streets." Organisers portrayed this as a vigilant self-defence stance, while critics labelled it intimidating or akin to mobs. I mean, they let off flares, which is that not illegal? But didn't seem to be many police there. I mean, I know that the Pink Ladies that are protesting at the Britannia Hotel, which is quite near there, Canary Wharf. When they were protesting, it was excellent. They were in the Pink Ladies, but also their partners came along, the men, and they weren't wearing masks and bringing flares. So that was a pretty bad look on their side, you know. So, but that was quite a small thing. You know, they didn't really look threatening, although you could argue. I mean, I don't think it's a good. I mean, Tommy always tells people coming to his marches, don't wear a mask or anything. And from that big march in early September that Tommy had in London, I don't recall seeing any flares either, you know. So that's pretty well organised, you know. Police response: the Met Police maintained a low-key presence in Tower Hamlets, focusing resources on relocating UKIP event, where a few arrests occurred among left-wing counter-protesters. Yes, some left-wingers got in amongst the crowd, or tried apparently. We don't know yet. I think even I know you mentioned her. Yeah, I think she was there, even though she wasn't meant to be. The police had issued an order that counter-protesters weren't meant to be around there, near where UKIP were re-put. No major incidents or arrests were reported, though some commentaries accused authorities of two-tier policing for allowing the massed assembly while banning UKIP. The counter-protest occurred amid heightened tensions over etc. Some reports noted chants praising or whatever. I mean, I did watch some of it on YouTube, and it did look a small crowd. Maybe people were scared. You know, I'm talking about the UKIP crowd. I mean, they don't usually get that big a crowd, but possibly they will in the future. You know, because just as a sort of protest, you know, I would say a lot. Reactions on Twitter, etc. Local residents expressed mixed feelings. Some felt empowered, others reported feeling intimidated by the masks and volume. Yeah, because it didn't look like it was coordinated between Stand Up to R and the men who came in, the masked men. There's the 2 points of view. No injuries were reported, etc. I was asking, did the Aspire Party play a role? Yes, the Aspire Party played a significant indirect role in the events, though it was not the primary organiser of the counter-protest, as the ruling political party in Tower Hamlets Council, controlling majorities of seats since the 2022 local elections under Mayor Lutfur Rahman, who is of Bangladeshi heritage. Aspire's influence shaped the local political and community response to threatened UKIP demonstration. So it's 40% Muslim per the 2021 census, and that's before the Boris wave, so I mean that might be up to 50% now. As a country, the government probably don't know, you know, that's the way we live. There should be a census every year, basically, but we only have one every 10 years, and I heard they were going to scrap it anyway, but really, basically we don't have a clue, and I think that's the way the government likes it, you know, that's the worst thing. I mean, if it was a private company, you'd say this is total incompetence, you don't know these basic facts, but as the government, it's just one of those things, you know. And the party stance, let's see. So there was a council motion against agitators earlier in October 25. Oh yeah, maybe that's when that's when the Pink Ladies protested, I think. So that was about 2 weeks ago. Led by Aspire, passed a formal motion pledging to stand up to the far and explicitly rejecting external agitators like UKIP who target local communities. This resolution, proposed by Mayor Rahman, framed the UKIP event as an unwelcome intrusion and encouraged community unity, directly contributing to the mobilisation for the counter-protest. It echoed historical anti-fascist resistance in the area and helped legitimise like the Battle of Cable Street 1936, which I think a lot of Labour MPs like to proudly mention on Question Time on the BBC as if it was a good thing, you know. I think it was the locals fighting the police, but I'm not sure, but because they didn't want a march to go through or something. But community leadership and mobilisation. Aspire's councillors, many of whom are from Bangladeshi heritage, are deeply embedded in local mosques, community centres and networks like the East London Mosque near the protest site. While SUTR led the official call to action, Aspire affiliated groups amplified it through social media and local channels, drawing thousands, including the masked young Muslim men described in footage, to Whitechapel. Posts on X highlight Aspire's role in portraying the event as a legitimate expression of local sovereignty in an enclave, with Rahman often cited as a symbol of resistance. No direct organisation, but implicit endorsement. Reports confirm SUTR and interfaith community coalitions as the main organisers, with no evidence of Aspire formally coordinating logistics like permits or marshals. However, the party's dominance, holding 24 of the 45 council seats, ensured a permissive local atmosphere with minimal pushback from authorities. Critics on X accused us of enabling two-tier policing, noting the light Met presence compared to the banned UKIP event in central London, which was well behaved, by the way. There was no problems. Broader context and reactions. Aspire, formed by Rahman after his 2015 disqualification for electoral malpractice, positions itself as a democratic socialist party focused on social housing, anti-austerity and community empowerment, issues resonating in Tower Hamlets' diverse low-income areas. Supporters view its role as protective, while detractors label it as a force turning the borough into a no-go zone. The counter-protests remained peaceful, with no arrests in Tower Hamlets. So there's the sort of views. So yeah, that's what I was asking it. And I just wondered, are all the Aspire councillors of Bangladeshi heritage? I think they were when they get elected, say they get 24 in 2022. It's saying here, I think there may be two native British Labour councillors have maybe went over to them. But really, it looks as if really they're a local Bangladeshi London party, really, in terms of their councillors and the mayor. Even though, well, it's maybe 50% of the local area, I don't know. So the other ones are probably Labour, and they probably were the whole 45 councillors in the old days. Aspire has been criticised for historically fielding exclusively Bangladeshi candidates, particularly men, in elections like 2022, where all 24 elected councillors were described as such. However, as of late 24, two councillors who defected to Aspire from other parties, likely Labour, appear to be non-Bangladeshi, broadening the group's composition slightly. I mean, they might be actually be Pakistani, British, I don't know. So Aspire was founded in 2018 by Lutfur Rahman, himself of Bangladeshi heritage, from remnants of his previous party. Aspire has drawn primarily from former Labour councillors of Bangladeshi background. This led to a 2022 landslide, 24 out of 45 seats, but sparked accusations of ethnic exclusivity and lack of gender balance, only 3 female candidates. The party's self-description emphasises lived experience from local, often Bangladeshi-rooted stakeholders. Recent changes, councillors Khan and Akhtar defected to Aspire, so maybe they are Pakistani, British, I don't know. Doesn't sound like they're native British, helping restore its majority after a brief period of instability in November 24, when some Aspire parties left to sit as independents. Common South Asian surnames like these could indicate Pakistani or Indian heritage rather than Bangladeshi, though exact details, well, you can find out easily enough. As of now, Aspire holds around 24 to 26 seats, following the defections and independents, e.g. former Aspire members like Ohad Ahmed, Jahid Chowdhury. So there we go. There's some info for you. This is taking too long now, this thing. In essence, well, Bangladeshi heritage defines most of Aspire's councillors. The answer is no. Well, it is really, actually, because of a couple of defections. Yeah. And I was wondering if they coordinated with Stand Up to Thing Me, but there's no direct evidence. So maybe they just came along on the day, without telling. I'm sure they told SUTR, but I don't know who probably arranged it. On the day, it looked as if SUTR was a tinier part of the group. So there's some information for you. I was just asking it what percent of the counter protests were the masked men, and it doesn't really know, but it's saying maybe they were a highly visible but minority element, likely 10 to 20% of participants. This is a rough approximation. So the total crowd size, reports indicate thousands attended, with SUTR estimating 3,000 to 5,000 overall. I'll need to take a look at their X account, including families, interfaith groups and trade unionists. Specific claims include swathes of locals and Whitechapel, full of thousands of them. The mass group size, descriptions consistently note dozens to hundreds of masked men. No source exceeds a few hundred implicitly, suggesting 300 to 500 at peak. Derivation, dividing, so if it was 3 5,000, that would be 10 to 17% of the group. Higher visibility in clips near East London Mosque may inflate perceptions, but broader reports emphasise a multi-mix. So, waving Palestinian and Bangladeshi flags. So, GB News reckons it was 50 to 100. I don't know. Well, media, they're saying there. I don't know. But others are saying maybe 300, I don't know. They're saying under 10%. So, I don't know, but it was a pretty, at the moment, it all went off peaceful, I'm being sort of, what's the word for it? I'm being sort of not too thing me about it yet, but it didn't look really good in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel as if United Kingdom's going to go the utopian way. Although, I don't know. You need to be careful about that because I think you can get arrested for not thinking that. You're allowed to think that even if we end up in anarchy, Probably in 20 years' time, nobody's going to come and arrest you, they might. I don't know. For saying it was going to be a utopia, But, yeah, it didn't look good at all, But maybe over time it won't look as bad, but I don't know. It didn't look good. Alright, I'm just mincing my words around here because it's YouTube and that, Anyway, okay, bye for now.